Good morning. I'm here with my first movie review of 2020, and it is The Grudge. January is typically like awful for movies. Like if your movie comes out in January, that usually means that it's pretty bad. And especially like the very beginning of January, because Oscar movies come out in December. So at the beginning of January, people are still catching up on those. I don't know. The very first week of January this year, only one new movie came out, and it was The Grudge. And I had seen everything from last year. I was craving some movie time, having withdrawals from my theater, so I went and saw The Grudge. My overall rating, I feel like I would give it like a 5.3 out of 10. Like, it's not terrible, but it's definitely not good. It's just, it exists. I know there are other Grudge movies that exist. I've never seen any of them, so I don't really know if they tie into this at all, if I was supposed to have seen those for background knowledge. I feel like I had all of the background knowledge I needed. They explained everything in this movie. I didn't feel like I was missing anything by not seeing any other Grudge movie, but yeah, I saw it in a theater full of teenagers. It was a cheap laughs, kind of jump scare, dumb, predictable type movie. And honestly, thinking further in, I'm gonna amend it. I'm just gonna give it a straight 5 out of 10. If you are into those cheap jump scares and bad horror movies, this could be for you. But like, I am someone that gets scared so easily. I normally am terrified of scary movies, and this, like, I was fine. I jumped a couple times, but most of the jump scares were predictable, and I had no nightmares, and I'm extremely nightmare prone, so it wasn't that scary. But yeah, I'm gonna get into going through the plot and what actually happens, so if you don't want to be spoiled in what happens on The Grudge, please leave now. Otherwise, let's get to it. This movie opens in Japan, and you see a woman like running out of a house that she's presumably working on, and she calls her family and she's like, I have to come home, I have to come home right now. And like someone in the background is like, but what if you haven't finished your blah blah blah, whatever she was there for. I think she was there for like a work study or of some sort. And she's like, I have to go home. So she goes home, and then there's like words on the screen that explain like the grudge, like if you die in the house, if you go in the house the people died in, whatever, like that's it. And like as she's standing on the sidewalk to leave, like bodies grab her, so it's like she's having those grudge visions already in Japan. The next cut to like she's home, she sees her family, she hugs her family, and then like next scene you see that her entire family was murdered in their house. Next scene you see like 2 cops come and find this like dead, deceased, gross looking body in a car, and they're like where did this body come from? How has nobody found it? Why is it so disgusting? Why is it so deceased? Turns out that like both the family that was murdered and the dead old lady body that they found can be tied back to like the same house that's apparently like, I don't know, it can be tied back to the same house. So this new cop on the job like goes to that new house, goes to like check out what's happening, and she encounters this old lady who is like in the kitchen chopping her own fingers off, like covered in blood, disgusting looking, and like then a dead guy just chilling there. So another dead person and a psychopathic lady just like cutting her hands off, and she like comes at the lady and is like, can you feed me? And she has no fingers, and it's really gross and creepy. But so that's like all the major players of the story introduced. Now that this cop lady has been inside of this house since she went in, she's like driving home now, and she starts seeing the ghosts. She starts seeing like the grudge body. She sees one in the middle of the street, and she like swerves to try, inappropriate, she like swerves to try and get out of the way, and then like gets out of her car and nothing's actually there. So now she's got the creepy hauntings. Next you kind of jump to this couple. It's a guy and his pregnant wife, and they're a realtor team, and apparently they were trying to sell this house 44, the creepy house. So he goes to the house to try and get paper signed. Nobody answers the door when he goes, and then you see like a body come out of the bathtub, like that same creepy Grudge girl. So that's fun. But now the realtor has seen the house and like knows the creepy stuff. So later that night, he's like just taking a shower, deep in thought, and like a hand came out of his head. It was so weird looking, like he was shampooing his hair, and then like a third hand just like popped out of the back of his head, and he like grabbed it and like freaked out, and gross. So then the next day, this guy tries to go back to the house to get his signature, and again can't find anybody there, but the little girl answers, and he like goes inside with the little girl because she starts like profusely bleeding. Like she just starts having like a terrible nosebleed and then starts like coughing up blood. So he takes her inside. So he's in the house now, and he just stays in the house for a little bit. He like spends the night at the house, and then we cut away from him and we come back to him later. So then the movie cuts back to like the old lady that was found with her fingers cut off, and like a flashback to her. And apparently her husband like kind of gets freaked out by her and calls this lady up that's supposed to do like assisted suicides. So the assisted suicide lady shows up and goes to like meet with the wife and is like, no, this bitch crazy. So no assisted suicide. She stays the night with them, and she has now been in the house. She goes to the store to like get food to cook for dinner, and she starts seeing and feeling the Grudge ghost. Like at one point she's trying to check out at the grocery store, and one just like grabs her hand. Then this lady, like eventually she gets back to the house, and she just sees a guy like standing outside in the rain, unresponsive, just staring at the house. And apparently this was like a cop that worked the original case on the original murders, and he like was blown so crazy, like his mind just, he keeps seeing the ghost, and it's just driven him crazy. So like working on that case has just messed with his brain so much, he just cannot get over it. He keeps seeing ghosts, he keeps seeing these Grudge things, and he just like stands outside this house all the time. So his partner comes and picks him up, and they're just like driving home, and he shoots himself in the face. It's like, okay. He gets put in a mental hospital. Now the new cop lady goes to visit him because she is interested. Since she started seeing the thing, she's wondering what he says. So he says to her when she comes to visit him, he's like strapped down, and he's like, it's happening again, isn't it? Once you enter the house, they don't leave you. It's the Grudge. And then he literally just sits there and pulls his eyeballs out. Like he just, eyeballs, pried out, gone. And yeah, that kills him. But so he's psychotic. He kills himself because of this house. So another victim of this house. But it is kind of like explained at this point that apparently this curse on the house started at that house in Tokyo. And the lady that you see at the beginning of the movie, she like got the Grudge and got the ghosts from that house. And then she came back to America, and she came to her house and just murdered her entire family. And now that house has the Grudge. So like she murdered her entire family. This cop that came in there killed himself. The lady who cut all of her fingers off killed her husband. Like the assisted suicide lady is found dead at the beginning of the movie, dead. So she's found dead at the beginning of the movie, dead. She's found dead at the beginning of the movie after a car crash. So this house is just killing. This cop then goes from seeing the guy at the mental hospital, she then goes back to work at the police district, tries to do more research. She keeps seeing ghosts. She keeps seeing these Grudge things because she's for some reason working in the basement by herself in the dark, using just a flashlight to get around because it's a scary movie. But she keeps seeing these things. She thinks she sees someone's security footage, and then she shows someone else the footage, and of course nothing's there. So she's haunted. Then it flashes back to the realtor guy who's sleeping on the couch with the little girl. He hears a doorbell ringing, goes to check the doorbell, no one's there. Goes back to where he was, and the little girl is gone. So he goes and looks for her, finds her in the bathtub, and then basically like starts seeing all of the other ghosts from the house pop out of him. All of like the mom, the dad, and the girl, all of those characters start like their grudge ghosts come out at him. So now he's haunted. He's gonna go home and he's gonna stab his pregnant wife, and then he's gonna kill himself. So another victim of the grudge curse. There's another like cutscene, and the old lady who was cutting her fingers off is now in a mental hospital, and she just jumps off a very high flight of stairs, kills herself, and then you see like the little grudge girl as if she pushed her off. So more death from this house. And throughout all of this, the main cop lady is just seeing more and more grudge ghosts. She's going crazier and crazier, and she, like any rational person, decides the only way to deal with this is to just burn that house down. So she takes her son, puts her son in the car with her, and they drive to the house. She tells him to stay in the car. She starts gasolining the place, and then she has this like vision, I guess, and it looks like her son is standing there talking to her, but she asks him this question. The whole movie she's been asking him like, oh, what do you do when you're scared? And the answer is like, close your eyes and count to 5. So the little boy, who ends up not really being the little boy, comes in the house and is like, mommy, what are you doing? Mommy, stop, it doesn't have to be like this. And I guess she realizes like, let me ask him this question, and the person did not know the answer. So I guess she was smart enough to be like, let me ask this little boy the question, and if he doesn't know the answer, clearly it's not my son, it's a ghost. So she asks, what do you do when you're scared? The little boy never answers. She sets the house on fire. It turns out it was the grudge girl. Her son's outside in the car. You think, oh my god, everything, we're all gonna live happily ever after. And then it like flash forwards to her at her home. Her son's gonna get on the bus to go to school, and she's like, hey, give me a hug goodbye. And then like she's hugging her son, and then you see her actual son walk and be like, bye mom. So like what she's hugging is a ghost, so she's still messed up. But yeah, not a great movie, not a terrible movie, just a dumb, stupid, run-of-the-mill scary movie. 5 out of 10. Will I ever see it again? No. Do I recommend you go spend money on it? No. But I was having cravings, so there we go. First movie of 2020, The Grudge.